welcome. My name is Marcus Carter. I'm the Director of Social Equity at Cinder. I'm also the Board President with Portland Workforce Alliance. My pronouns are he, him, and his. I am excited and slightly nervous to talk about this question, that question being, what is leadership? Now, before I offer any insights on this question, I do want to provide just a little bit of background about myself. While I share, hopefully you have some things in common with me. And at least, at the very least, I hope you feel comfortable asking questions after this, okay? So let me share just a little bit about myself before we address this question. All right, first things first. I come from a large family, 5 brothers, 2 sisters, 4 amazing stepbrothers. I was raised in Southern California and I love each and every one of my siblings. As you can imagine, we had times where we were all best friends and then we had times where we were not best friends. I think each of us at some point or another just wanted mom and dad's attention, if you will. And I'd like to credit them for any leadership skills that I've cultivated over the years. I think definitely came from being part of this large and amazing family. If you're wondering, I'm not the oldest. I kind of fall in the middle, but I'm ultra competitive. And so I'd like to think of myself as the oldest. Of course, that's not necessarily true. But again, I'm a little competitive. So let me talk about some of the ways I grew up in Southern California. All right. As you see there in the picture, that's young Marcus. I'm about 6'4", maybe about 135 pounds, and I just love playing the game of hoops. It was a nice outlet for me when I was younger, and extremely fortunate enough to earn a scholarship to play at University of Portland. That's what brought me here to the great state of Oregon, was playing basketball with University of Portland. In addition to that, I mentioned I grew up in Southern California. So I grew up a Los Angeles Laker fan, someone who just loved the Magic Johnsons, the Shaqs, and of course, my favorite player, Kobe Bryant. And so sorry to the Blazer fans. I still love Dame, phenomenal player, but I myself, I'm going to stay with the Lakers, okay? I like winning, so don't hold it against me. Let's talk about other interests outside of sports for me growing up. All right. I know there's a lot of things happening on this slide here. One at the bottom, can't forget my man, Michael. I grew up a big, huge Michael Jackson fan. Again, if any of you out there know, there was the original Jackson 5. And so me having 5 brothers, 2 sisters, 4 stepbrothers, we used to pull up the old Michael videos and just dance, all of us, right? Some of us had rhythm, some of us didn't. I'll let you be the judge on that. Next up, love to play video games. I cannot remember, I might have been 4th grade when I first got a PlayStation from my grandma. I used to play that thing 6 hours a day. I know some of y'all out there on the video games at least that long. And I know your parents is telling you, hey, stop that, stop that. I've been there, done that. So I understand your pain. Outside of that, Michael Jackson and the dance videos, obviously playing the PlayStation. I also watched cartoons. And my favorite cartoon of all time is the Boondocks. Love this cartoon. Still watch it to this day, actually. And then I had a grandma who's a big, huge martial arts fan. Loved Bruce Lee. So I grew up watching all of the Bruce Lee movies. Big fan. Last couple of things I'll mention is just that I love music, right? Obviously, I love Michael Jackson. Love the Jackson 5. Big fan of music. And then as you see here in the small corner middle section, writing. I used to write. Love to write poetry and short stories. And then last but not least, especially since last month was Black History Month, I grew up a big Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. fan. In fact, in high school, I once did a speech, the I Have a Dream speech, in front of about 800 or more students as a sophomore. And so I loved him then. I still love him to this day. And again, I just want to share a little bit, about my background growing up. Now, as I mentioned, I played some basketball, played video games and things of that nature. But now I got to be honest, I am no longer as athletic as I once was. I don't play basketball at all anymore. These days, I stick to doing jujitsu. In full transparency, the gym has been closed since March of last year. So I feel a little guilty saying I do jujitsu because it's been a full year now since I've been in the gym. But obviously, we all understand the different conditions that the pandemic has brought. But as you see here, this was me a year or two ago earning my blue belt from both of my coaches. As I mentioned, I love martial arts, grew up watching Bruce Lee, so all that rubbed off on me. And now as an adult, I get to practice jujitsu and I love it. I would recommend it for everyone. And so let's talk about something else. There's a group I'm forgetting here, and I definitely want to share my love for them. On every presentation I ever do, I always speak about my favorite little rap group. There you go. Jordan, who's there in the blue, and then Lauren with her glasses and her Elmo shirt. These are my two little superheroes. Again, Jordan and Lauren. Jordan is about 4 years old, feels like she's going on 16. Lauren is 2, and she's going on 13. And the world better watch out. That's all I'll say is the world better watch out for Jordan and Lauren. I love them to death. And any free time I get is really spent with them. So I'd love to talk next just about the different teams I get to support, right? We're getting closer to me addressing this concept of leadership. And I just want to share what are the different teams I'm a part of. Obviously, growing up, playing basketball, I was on 1,000,001 teams. Now, as a professional, I get to be a part of our team here at Cinder. I get to be a part of an organization called Southwest SHRM, Society of Human Resource Management. It's an HR group. I get to be part of an organizing group called Critical Resistance. I'm on a board with the Oregon Entrepreneurs Network, and then I get to do some amazing work with my family and friends over at Free Geek. And so, as you can see, I still love being a part of teams. And so, as I'm a part of those teams, I think my role sort of fluctuates. At any given point, I'm a leader. At any given point, I am supporting people in a number of different ways. And so let me just pause there. I know that was a lot, and I want to see what questions do you have. I shared about my family. I shared about, growing up playing basketball, getting a scholarship, being a Laker fan, sorry Blazers fans. Talked a little bit about, video games, music, love poetry. Type in the chat there if you have any questions. Also, type in the chat there if you have any commonalities, right? What are some of the similarities you and I share? Please feel free to share that. And so, moving forward, right? Let's talk about this question. What is leadership? I think one of the easiest ways to address this is for us all just to think about a specific leader that comes to our mind. Who do you think about? Earlier in sports, right? I mentioned the Magic Johnsons, Shaquille O'Neal's. I mentioned a guy like Kobe Bryant. Who comes to mind when you think of a leader? I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that. If you can, please type in a leader in the chat. Love to hear who comes to mind for you. All right. I bet as you started to think about leaders, at times you had folks who were formal leaders and those who were informal leaders. I think these are the two buckets that typically come to mind every time I do this presentation. And so let's talk about formal leadership. Formal leadership meaning you have a title or a position. that helps you maybe enforce the rules, right? The example here I give is a team captain. I'm sure we can think of others, right? We're used to and accustomed to honoring this kind of leadership, right? Think about your teacher, right? Think about your principal, right? You might have a career counselor, right? Folks who are given specific titles, and they act and have the ability to influence you, if you will. The other form of leadership we have, that is known very well, maybe less thought of, is informal authority or leadership. And specifically here, I'm talking about someone who has amazing character, great integrity, and has the capabilities of a leader, but not a title. And so I want to be honest, I have a lot of friends who actually fall into this category. I ask them for advice all the time, but they wouldn't say they're a leader to me, and they themselves would not identify as a leader. I want you to think about something. We have two amazing people at the Portland Workforce Alliance that are part of the board. Rochelle and Jared, they helped start our youth council. Those people are phenomenal leaders who are acting in an informal leadership role and took on this project and created something amazing that has influenced myself and everyone here today at the Youth Expo. So again, those are some phenomenal examples of quote unquote informal leaders, if you will. And so what I'm trying to state here is that leadership happens and comes and exists in all different shapes and sizes, right? Yes, it's a title, but there are so many capabilities in between. Another example I could think about is in my household, my mom is the leader of the house, right? 5 brothers, 2 sisters, 4 stepbrothers, all of us. Mom can snap her fingers and whoop, we're in line. Whatever mom says goes. Same thing with my grandma. Oh, grandma. I love grandma's laugh. I can hear it right now. She's definitely a leader in my family. Another leader in my family is actually my younger sister. Everyone likes to think of me as sort of the quote unquote, top dog, if you will. I got to play sports. I got to be on TV, so on and so forth. But my younger sister actually is part of the National Guard. She is the bravest soul I've ever known, and I look up to her to this day. And so in our family, I would definitely qualify her as one of the many informal leaders. Now, the next thing I think all leaders have, whether it is a title, whether it is influence and capabilities and just strong character as an informal leader, I think all leaders have courage. And I know if you're like me, you grew up hearing this word courage and you're like, what does this mean? What's the definition? How do I make sense of courage? And so I want to share with you the definition that I feel makes the most sense to me. And so let's see if I can pull this up. Perfect. I forgot where I heard this. It might have been a podcast or a book I was reading, but they said leadership is efficient management of one's fears. I'll read that again. Leadership is the efficient management of one's fears. Contrary to popular belief, leaders are not fearless. I'm someone who's fortunate to do public speaking 20 to 35 to 45 times a year. And I'll be honest with you, every single presentation, I get the butterflies, I have anxiety, there's a little bit of fear there, right? But each and every time, I think I become much and more efficient at managing those fears. For anyone out there who has ever prepared for a test, right? A final, if you will. You know that feeling you get, right? Doesn't matter if you know every single answer. There's always a little butterflies in there. So again, when we talk about leadership, think of the different ways you can efficiently manage your fears. Hopefully this definition makes sense. Hopefully it's something you keep in the back of your mind every time you have an opportunity to step up and either be a leader, right? And or find yourself in a situation where you do feel fearful, right? Courage is simply just the efficient management of your fears. Okay? Got it? Maybe give me a check mark, a plus, something of that nature in the chat if that makes sense to you. Okay? Awesome. Let's move forward now. Let's talk about other things other things leaders do. I gave the examples of being having a title, right, in terms of formal leadership. I also spoke about informal leadership, right? Those who have a tremendous amount of influence, integrity, and yet maybe not have the title. The other things I think leaders do very well is demonstrate respect, right? Give all people respect. I'm sure any number of leaders you think of, you've always seen them in moments provide and trust and offer respect to everyone. The other thing is, some people think leaders do all the talking. That's so wrong. I can say, for myself and for others that I've looked up to, they always say, Marcus, listen first, right? What do you got? You got 2 ears, 1 mouth, right? You should be doing a lot more listening than you should be doing talking. The other thing I think leaders do, again, whether you're formal with the title or informal without the title, is try to clarify expectations, right? Try to make sure you understand what the next person is saying. Try to make sure you're clear on what are the outcomes they want. And then last but not least, right, practice accountability, right? Sometimes people think leaders do it all, and that's not true, right? Many times leaders are amazing at supporting others, right? I spoke about all the different teams I'm on in many different ways. All I do is help support the work that they are doing. And so, again, I wanted to give these 4 examples just to speak to some of the things I think we all can do, whether we're on a team, right? Whether we're in our family, right? Whether we're helping out friends, right? Let's make sure that we demonstrate respect to everyone, right? That we're always listening, right? And to show that we're listening, we try to clarify expectations. And then last but not least, we always practice accountability. What are ways to collaborate and be in partnership with the people that are on our team at that moment? Does that make sense? I'm sure many of you have experience with this on class projects and things of that nature. I think all of these traits are necessary to gel as a team and or be a leader. And so next, just as a recap here, first we talked about formal and informal leadership, right? Formal being someone who has a title, right? And I'm sure they've earned that title. I want to make that clear. They've earned that title. And they, by way of that title, they have the ability to enforce rules and quote unquote influence others. And then there's informal leadership, right? You think of someone like Rosa Parks, right? You think of someone like Dr. Martin Luther King, right? Who have a tremendous amount of influence and persuasion, also a tremendous amount of responsibility, right? I should have mentioned that with each of these 2 dynamics, formal and informal. These are people who take on a significant amount of responsibility. And some of the ways they do that is just by demonstrating respect, right? Making sure they're listening first. After they're listening, helping qualify and clarify expectations. And last but not least, practicing accountability. And then there it is, courage, right? I spoke about this earlier, and I really mean it. I think it is the best definition I've ever heard on courage. It is the efficient management of your fears. Trust me, if you would have saw me before this call, I had to set up my computer, I had to work on my lighting, I put on different t-shirts, right? I was worried that my kids might be running around in the background. I had to check the microphone, right? My hands were getting all sweaty, right? And look, here I am at the end of today's presentation. And I'm happy. Right? I'm really happy that I got a chance to speak with y'all and really look forward to everything that's happening in the chat right now. And so I want to ask you, what questions do you have? We just spent, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes talking about leadership. You yourself, are you a formal leader, right? Do you have a title? Are you an informal leader, right? And we can think about that as it relates to school teams, right? We can think about that as it relates to projects. We can also think about that as that relates to our family dynamics, as well as our friend dynamics. And so, again, I want to say thank you. It has been an honor to present this presentation to you. I love, love, love to hear your feedback. Please put it in the chat and let's make sure we keep this conversation going. Again, my name is Marcus Carter, Director of Social Equity at Cinder. My pronouns are he, him, and his. And I'm excited to continue today's presentation, today's expo, and look forward to seeing you tomorrow as well. Thank you.